Boss fights are amazing, which is why it's so weird that they usually suck. Confused yet? Good. This video is about Dark Souls after all, it's only fitting that I confuse the shit out of you. The flow of my videos is convoluted, with hot takes, centuries old, phasing in and out of existence. You see, boss fights should be great. That's the expectation, the bare minimum. A boss fight should be a test of everything the game has taught you. It's a big, angry exam that kicks the shit out of you if you haven't mastered the game's mechanics up to that point. That's already a pretty tall order, but there's also the narrative aspect to it. The boss fight has real narrative weight. It's an epic confrontation between the player and whatever dumb evil bastard the game threw in your way. But in some games, the narrative aspect of a boss fight takes center stage and the whole test of what you've learned thing gets thrown out the fucking window. The fight is not a real test of the player's skill, but instead just a plot point. You know what I'm talking about. You've definitely experienced one before. The boss fight that has you saying, "Holy shit, are you serious?" But what I love about Dark Souls 3 is that its boss fights are somehow even more than epic confrontations that test everything the game has taught you. They're powerful statements that hammer home the themes of Dark Souls 3, and a glorious swan song for what Dark Souls always was. But what was Dark Souls? Now that the series has concluded, is there really a lesson to be taken from the sake-fueled ramblings of these games? Was Dark Souls about man's relationship with God? Maybe it was about sacrifice? Perhaps it was nothing more than a story about a beef jerky man dying over and over. No. The story of Dark Souls, and particularly Dark Souls 3, was a rumination on the pain of holding on. It was always a story about a fire fading, and a world that's afraid of the dark. Dark Souls 3's opening cinematic establishes the following things. Please get out a pen and pencil, this will all be on the test. Okay? Number 1. The world is ending because a fire known as the First Flame is fading. Number 2. The First Flame needs to be kindled with the bodies of powerful beings in order to continue burning. Weird, but okay. Some of these powerful beings that have already sacrificed themselves to the flame, known as Lords of Cinder, were resurrected in order to get toasted again, but they all refused and instead fucked off to God knows where. Why? Don't interrupt me. 4. You, despite being a dumb trash person, need to go kill these beings, absorb their power, and use yourself as kindling. So, what happens if the first flame fades? There'll be an age of darkness, as opposed to an age of fire. That sounds bad. It does sound bad, but no one knows for sure. I find this to be an inherently compelling setup. You're shown these all-powerful beings in the introduction, ones that have already sacrificed themselves for the flame, and yet they don't want to do it again. This begs the question, why? What's changed? Why is this a sacrifice that they are no longer willing to make? Well, it doesn't matter. I'm a goddamn video game protagonist, and therefore a hero, and I'm gonna save the day. Are you? What? Are you evil me? No, I'm good you. Then what's with the mustache? Don't worry about the mustache. What's with your dumb hat? I'm role-playing as Big Hat Logan's cousin, Little Hat Cobbler. That is profoundly stupid. So, to link the first flame, you need to go kill 4 powerful beings that refuse to link it, right? Right. And 3 of them have done it before, were reincarnated, and yet refused to do it again. Right. That doesn't strike you as weird. Should it? I just assumed they were pussies. They've all saved the world before, yet you're surrounded by a diseased world that they all refuse to save again? Does this world look saved? You've been told to bring in a new age of fire, but this is still an age of fire, right? This absolute fucking nightmare world filled with monsters? What are you getting at? I don't understand. Like, I start to listen to what you're saying, but then I start thinking about how cool my hat is, and I get distracted. Oh yeah, I forgot. You're me, and therefore an idiot. Why should this world be saved? Doesn't this world seem profoundly sick, diseased? Like whatever follows this world if you let the flame fade has to be better purely by the virtue that this world is awful. Those sound like the lies of the liberal media. What? Get fucked, evil me. I don't care what CNN propaganda you've been fed. The Age of Fire is the best, and I'm gonna ensure it continues. I'm gonna save the day, and no amount of logic or critical thinking is gonna stop me. Through the opening cutscene, it is established that these bosses are the most powerful beings this world has to offer. You have to kill all of them in order to beat the game, but who are these powerful beings exactly?
Farron's undead legion, the Abyss Watchers.
Naturally, the prospect of fighting this little slumber party, known as the Abyss Watchers, sounds rough, but you sorta don't. Greetings, cucks. I heard you didn't want to be set on fire. Well, I didn't crawl through that bullshit swamp area so that you could continue your little sewing circle. Oh, you killed all your buddies for me? Well, that saved me some time. You know what? Let's team up. I like your hat. You have good fashion sense. Oh, I see how it is. You want my hat, huh? I killed 50 farmers to get this hat. You can pry it off my cold cobbler corpse! As you fight what seems to be the last Abyss Watcher, another appears to help him. But then a third appears, with glowing red eyes, fighting both you and his former brothers in arms. I am illiterate. I don't read the item descriptions. I don't watch Vaatividya. All I know is this. The arena and the bosses fighting amongst themselves implies some sort of sickness. Some infection run rampant through what was at one point the most powerful group of beings this world had to offer. Perhaps not a sickness so much as some corruption, or maybe a heated argument over who has the pointiest hat. But, at the very least, you don't fight the Abyss Watchers. You fight a shadow of what they once were. It's all just communicated through environmental storytelling, a fun twist on a gank boss fight, and a very short cutscene. The next Lord of Cinder you fight is Yhorm the Giant. I wonder where he got that name. Alright, bitch, Dark Souls 3 is the easiest of the Souls games, so this is gonna be an easy fight. More like Yhorm the Giant pussy. Huh. You look a lot bigger up close. But, ooh, what's this? It's a sword. A sword specifically designed to kill giants. Why does he keep it here? Right next to his throne. Maybe it's here so he could keep it safe, prevent others from getting it and using it against him. Or maybe, when he was awoken so he could sacrifice himself to the fire again, he came to his old kingdom, only to see it had become buried by the passage of time, his deeds forgotten, his subjects long dead. So, he just sat on his throne next to the one sword that could kill him, and waited. The next Lord of Cinder you fight is Aldrich, who is a giant slug in a pool of his own waste. A slug and shit. So, you may be starting to notice a theme with these bosses. They are pathetic. They're difficult because Dark Souls, but they are not master swordsmen or giant, powerful monsters. They are sick, broken, or slugs. And they're the best this world has to offer. I'd like to show you one of these Lords of Cinder that is actually not a boss fight. When the bell tolled and the lords rose from their graves, there is one that did not run from it. He returned, willing to make the sacrifice again.
Look not in bewilderment as I say. I linked the fire long ago, becoming the Lord of Cinder.
I can see why FromSoftware did not want to make him a boss fight. But there is one left. The one that started this whole has-been resurrection by refusing to rekindle the first flame. Greetings, bitch. I killed some mentally ill douchebags, a possibly suicidal giant, and a slug with questionable personal hygiene, and it's all led up to this epic confrontation between me, some guy that dies a lot, and you. So who are you exactly?
Oh dear. Another dogged contender. Welcome, unkindled one, purloiner of cinders.
A femboy? Well, your alternative lifestyle choice will not spare you from my blade. Oh, you've got a disabled brother? So you think I'll spare you now? You think I fear the Twitter mob? You think I'm too woke to kick your ass? I'll get canceled if that's what it takes to save the world. And so, you see the truth of it all. The end of the world began because some femboy and his disabled brother did not want to be set on fire.
Oh, dear brother, I'm on my way. My brother, unyielding sword of Lothric's prince. Rise if you would, for that is our curse.
But you kill these sad, broken, and confusingly attractive bosses, and with the power of these Lords of Cinder, you go to the first flame, and you see ash, piles upon piles of ash, and you fight a real boss, a true champion, the soul of the fire itself. He is an amalgamation of all that have sacrificed themselves to the flame, the embodiment of the ash upon which you fight. Throughout the fight, he constantly switches weapons and techniques. Are these the weapons and fighting styles of previous champions? The last remnants of great men and women from a time when this world was still capable of producing great men and women? And in his second phase, the epic music that fits an epic boss fight that decides the fate of the world shifts to 3 piano keys that don't sound like victory, but instead tragedy. The boss fight is an amazing thing, whose raw potential is often squandered. The boss fight is where story and gameplay crash together in a powerful climax, but the story can take precedence over the gameplay. But Dark Souls 3, despite having pathetic bosses who serve as living examples of this world's decay, does not sacrifice the gameplay to illustrate this point. They are still fantastic fights. Fights that can be enjoyed in their own right. Their decay is not shoved in your face and does not compromise the fight itself. It's a soft whisper that can be drowned out by the cacophony of clashing swords, but it's a whisper that, if not totally heard by the player, is undoubtedly felt. Beyond the main bosses, there's a boss that's the king of this realm, twisted by ancient magic into a sickening false dragon. A powerful knight who explodes into a nauseating monstrosity. An empty suit of armor possessed by haunting, angel-like beings. 2 powerful champions of the Boreal Valley twisted into creatures that crawl across the ground like animals. This is only the beginning, With the exception of Pontiff Sullivan, who wiped the floor with me on my first playthrough because I never learned how to properly parry, the bosses of Dark Souls 3 have gossamer thin facades of power. They are all victims of inevitable, slow declines from glory days that exist now only in memory. Dark Souls is notoriously vague and almost never communicates the story in a direct way. I understand, when watching this video, that the fact that I've thrown all the lore out the fucking window and instead chose to focus on environmental and mechanical storytelling could be frustrating. Yes, I'm aware that Yhorm the Giant was not trying to commit suicide via Ashen One, but that doesn't matter, does it? I could bring up item descriptions and some NPC dialogue, but you don't need that to see who he is. All you need to do is fight him to gain a general understanding of who he is. A giant made small by the cruel and relentless flow of time. The reason I've thrown away the deeper lore is because you don't need a PhD in item descriptions to understand what Dark Souls 3, and by extension the entire franchise, was about. All you need to do is fight the bosses of its final installment to see. Dark Souls was about the folly of fighting change. Time turns mountains into sand, stars into dust, great men into bones, and it will one day reduce us all to atoms. But on a more human scale, and by that I mean a smaller time scale than the heat death of the fucking universe, time breeds change. That change can be scary. You may not understand it, but you cannot fight it. Dark Souls was about fighting it. It was about raging against the machine of the inevitable, and I find it fitting that in the final moments of this final installment of this trilogy, you are shown the result of resisting change. You are not given a powerful, victorious explosion of flame to mark your saving the world like you did in Dark Souls 1. At the end of Dark Souls 3, you get a flickering flame that can barely sustain itself, burning at the edge of a dying world. So, do you get it now? Do you see what this world is? It's a festering pool of complacency. A world whose best days are behind it, yet clings to what light remains, not because the light is good, but because the light is all they know. The people here don't fear the end. They fear the darkness of a future they don't understand. Alright, settle down, Shakespeare. Enough of the flowery bullshit. I get it. This fire is pitiful, yet remarkably painful. Yeah, I know, I'm you from the future. Oh yeah, take this. Why? Continuity. If you're me from the future, how are you here? The flow of time is convoluted, with heroes centuries old phasing in and out. Oh, fuck you. There are 4 endings to Dark Souls 3. One of them is cruel. Another revolves around stealing this flickering flame for the small shadow of mankind that remains. And one of them is about letting go. It's about seeing this world for what it is, and going calmly into a dark future that you don't understand. It's a dark, but beautiful ending. One that doesn't give you closure. It does not pat you on the back and assure you that you made the right choice.
The first flame quickly fades. Darkness will shortly settle. But one day, tiny flames will dance across the darkness. Like embers linked by Lord's Pass.
And I think it's one of the most beautiful endings to a game I've ever seen. It is an ending that must be earned. It is not an option the game outright gives you, but instead something you must search out. Buried deep within an optional area are a pair of eyes that must be given to the Firekeeper. It is an ending that is earned by opening your eyes and searching. But the ending I received on my first playthrough was not hidden. It's the one you get if you accept the role that the game has given you, and don't question the truth behind this world. There is no bad ending in Dark Souls 3. There's only a cruel one, a dubious one, a cold, calm, and mysterious one. But there is a safe one. And while I can't say if it's the bad ending, it does leave this world right where it was when you started playing, cowering in the warmth of a fading flame.
Black smokes are rising and it surely is a train. Surely is a train, boys, surely is a train. Black smokes are rising and it surely is a train. I'm on my long journey home. Lost all my money but a tune.